Grab a seat, make sure you have your food. We want to get started, so we stay on our timeline. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Meg Disler. I'm the director at the St. Joe Community Health Foundation. And delighted that you all are here. First, I would like to thank the University of St. Francis who helped host us for these things, and Natalie Leedy, who is the project manager for the College of Health Sciences and involved with the Center for Integrated Public Health Education and Research.
Yes, I would just like to welcome you guys all to campus. We are super thrilled to have you all here, and we love partnering with Meg and offering these events to you guys. I just want to say welcome.
And she did say, because there were a lot of good conversations starting, that nobody is in the room right after this, so if you're trying to connect with somebody, there's not like a class right afterwards. So if your schedule permits and you're trying to connect with somebody, you're welcome to stay here and get that conversation completed. Yes. Thank you so much, and thanks to St. Francis. The Prenatal and Infant Care Network, for those of you who are, there's a lot of friendly, familiar faces, and there's some new faces here. We do these quarterly, and we have a wonderful advisory board of frontline providers who help advise us what the topics are for these. And we look at those evaluations that you have in front of you. So if there's a topic you want us to cover, put together local speakers, feel free to let us know. Our goal for this is to help us really build a community. Who are the other people that you can refer clients to, you can get referrals from. So when you have people you're working with who need something in your stump, there's an answer here in the community because we're rich with resources. So to that extent, what I'd really like to do is very quickly have everybody introduce themselves in your program. If you have a 10-second announcement, you're welcome to do that, or we can help push some things out. So Rebecca, can I ask you to give your name, title, and what your organization is?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Thomas. I am a recovery case manager at the YWCA in Fort Wayne.
And I'm Tammy Munson. I'm a case manager at the YWCA for addictions, and we work with women with children.
Wonderful.
Elizabeth Castillo, contracted doula for Healthy Moms and Babies. Dominique Mills, Hope Center. Kate Seeley, a Hope Center advocate.
Tyann Achenbaugh, Neighborhood Health WIC Director.
Cori McKenzie, Maternal Child Health Bereavement Coordinator at Parkview Health.
Julie Foster, with Allen County DCS Division Manager. Erica Dees, Maternal Recovery Specialist at Parkview.
I'm Paige Framian. I am an intern there.
I'm Addie. I'm a social worker for the outpatient OB/GYN offices at Parkview.
I'm Brittany Wessel, and I'm an OB Nurse Navigator with Parkview.
I'm Sarah Van Alken, OB Nurse Navigator with Parkview.
Why don't we start at this table back here? Yep.
Hi, I'm Kristen Merriam. I'm the Allen County Health Educator for the Department of Health. And my little 10-second blurb is we just released our applications for funding for this year, and we're specifically looking for a maternal child health program to help fund.
Hi, I'm Julie Von Gutton with Journey Beside Mothers, the Ministry of Associated Churches.
And I'm Julie Reese, also with Journey Beside Mothers, and I'm the Journey Beside Mothers Coordinator and Wellness Nurse.
I'm Kendra from Hope Center.
I'm Teresa from Hope Center.
Heather from Hope Center. I'm Renee Hammett with Journey Birth and Wellness, birth doula, and childbirth education.
I'm Jean Wagner, and I am co-chair of the LAAD Committee for the Christ Child Society of Fort Wayne.
I'm Karen Descala, and I'm her co-chair for Christ Child Society LAADs.
I'm Jennifer Richard, nurse and faculty here at USF.
Wonderful. Why don't we let you guys quickly self-introduce and we'll do further.
I am Tasha Nicole Davis. I am the founder and CEO of Young Mothers of America.
I'm Bonnie Doolittle, founder and executive director of New Mercies Ministries. I'll be speaking later, so I'll share that.
Hi there, I'm Mindy Theard, family coach manager with New Mercies.
And I'm Denise. I work at a Hope Center as well.
Janet from a Hope Center.
Tana Theard from a Hope Center.
I'm Angie Phillips with Lutheran Social Services, and I oversee our ECHO parenting program.
I'm Ann Keo from the Women's Care Center. I'm the director of the 3 centers.
Hi. Hi, I'm Jessica Flores, and I'm with Parkview Health, and I'm a community health worker for the Women's and Children's Outreach Program.
I'm Janae Moore. I'm also a community health worker with the Women's and Children's Outreach at Parkview.
I am Marcy Baker. I'm a community health worker with Parkview Children's Specialty.
I am Belinda Dean, prenatal social worker and community health worker at the Neighborhood Health.
And the people who just got seated, who just introduce your name and title of what organization you're with, so we know who's in the room.
Hi everyone, I'm Amber. I'm from Parkview Health with this group right here.
Same. Hi, I'm Jocelyn with Parkview Health, community health worker.
Great.
Caroline Bradford, Catholic Charities Community Services Case Manager.
Veronica Yuha, Catholic Charities, Hispanic Health Advocate.
Tasha Williams, case manager, community service case manager at Catholic Charities.
I just have to share that, I say this often, but whenever I hear all the talent in this room and roles that are here to help women in the community, it reminds me when we hear these problems, what a great resource we are to ourselves and to the mothers in this community. So thank you all for the work you do. What I would like to open this now with, there is the Allen County Fetal Infant Mortality Review Task Force that unfortunately looks at the worst outcomes to try to prevent them. And they share their learnings with us each time. And so with that, we have Cori McKenzie, who is, it's a little change from the agenda. She is speaking on behalf of Britt, who is under the weather today. And Cori is the maternal child health bereavement coordinator. The background in social work, has a master's in social work, I should say. She's been at Parkview since 2011, but since 2014 working in maternal child health. And a lot of other talents in this area, but tell us why this topic you guys think is important.
Absolutely. Thanks for just rolling with the punches and letting me be here to present since Britt is out. I've been part of the FEMUR team since 2018, and in that time gotten to sit down and do a lot of the maternal interviews. If you're not familiar with what FEMUR is, we look at instances of fetal loss, so stillbirth, infant death, in our local communities and also like the surrounding Northeast Indiana area. And a lot of the good work that we're doing has grown out of the things that we've seen in FEMUR. So like the nurse navigators and the community health workers, and even my role responding to folks who experience pregnancy loss and infant death, have all grown out of needs that we've identified within the FEMUR review. So it's always an honor to hear stories and see how we can try to create change on multiple levels. The macro, that all of us are doing in our community and advocating for policy change and those things, but also when we sit down with families, meeting them where they are and providing the individualized support that they need. So I have attended the Postpartum Support International training, attended it in 2018, got to kind of help the event that was at Parkview this past fall. And there's always so much great information talking about perinatal mood disorders and what that looks like for people. So I did want to kind of go through a little bit of that. PSI tells us that during pregnancy, 1 in 7 moms will develop a perinatal mood disorder. After baby is born, that jumps to 1 in 5. And they also cite a statistic of 1 in 10 partners experiencing a perinatal mood disorder too. So I look at this group of beautiful people And if 1 in 5 of us who have birthed a baby has experienced a perinatal mood disorder, this is something that we can all relate to. And so many of the families, if you're seeing 100 people come through your clinic or your whatever, 20 of them are dealing with this. And that's just a staggering amount of folks that need more support, need more of the things that we can give them. So perinatal mood disorders are more than just the baby blues, right? The baby blues kind of are those hormonal changes that level off within a couple weeks after delivery. But some of the more intense symptoms of a perinatal mood disorder might be feeling sad, angry, irritable. I can relate to that one. Even though my kids are much older, feeling anxious, feeling like it's hard to bond with baby, even regretting the fact that you had baby. We might see folks that are not eating or sleeping well, maybe too much, maybe too little. They might be having looping or intrusive thoughts. Just for clarity, those looping thoughts are those things that just keep going through your mind every time you sit down. It's like, oh my gosh, I still have da 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 da, and you just can't turn off your brain to stop those thoughts that are processing so quickly. And then intrusive thoughts are those scarier ones that sometimes we feel like we're going to get in trouble for confessing. I don't want to add any fuel to the fire that you guys might have for your own intrusive thoughts, but I know they can often relate to cooking, driving, bathing baby, and some of the things that you can just in a flash see that terrible thing happening to your baby. You don't have an intent to do it. Mine light that is not super scary, and it flashes through my head. We live in a historic house, and we have wooded stairs, and I never walk down the stairs with socks on because I'm like, if I fall, I'm gonna inevitably tumble through the window on the landing, right, and end up smashed outside on the concrete. Totally not a rational thought, but something that happens. And I think those thoughts can be really scary for moms that don't know how to identify it and know that they are part of this perinatal mood world. Sorry, my phone went to sleep. Some of the other risk factors might be, regretting becoming a parent or feeling like harming yourself or others. So those are the symptoms that we may or may not see that they may or may not be comfortable sharing with us. Who's at risk? There's no way to definitely say a person will or will not experience a perinatal mood disorder, even if they have had one previously. So some risk factors might be a history of a mental health, mood-related issue like depression or anxiety, lack of support systems in place. That could be social, emotional, or financial. I know that in working with moms as a home visitor and also in the griefy space after loss, so many folks are planning their time based on when they have to go back to work. They only can afford to take off a week or two, even though they haven't fully healed physically or been able to process emotionally what's going on. Risk factors could be stress in your relationship with your partner, whether they are physically present or you guys fight a lot. Stress or trauma during birth, having a NICU baby can all be really stressful. Breastfeeding difficulties. Breastfeeding we look at and see as the most natural thing in the world, but it is a lot of work. I don't know that everybody's prepared for that. And then having other significant life stresses like moving, changing or losing work, or grief. So Britt put together some examples of things that we've seen through FEMR and also stories that they have seen through the Nurse Navigation and Community Health Worker program. So some examples of ways that we see this play out in real life. They have worked with a first-time mom with no family in the area. Her significant other did his best to help when he could, but he had to go to work to pay the bills. And with the baby, the expenses only got to be more. Mom developed postpartum depression, but we suspected that it was really a response to her exhaustion and lack of support. She eventually got connected with psychiatric services and started on some medication, but by that time, all of those appointments and different things, it required Dad to take off work. to be at home with baby, and that meant lost wages. That only added to the stress, right? It's hard to parent alone. Another example, we have one woman who lives alone. She lives outside of Allen County, and all of her family and her significant other live outside of the state. She doesn't have transportation, so she walks to a minimum wage job. She currently has a high-risk pregnancy and has to drive into Fort Wayne for appointments. And the closer she gets to delivery, those appointments are multiple times a week. So, you know, she needs that higher level of care, but can't access it in her home community. And resources in surrounding counties are pretty scarce. Transportation is difficult to arrange when you're going 45 minutes. It's tough to pay for an Uber for that long. Buses don't run. So, yeah, lots of team effort to get her the support she needs. We see women who are being diagnosed with depression or anxiety. You know, if you've seen the Edinburgh, that 10 question, you know, like, how are you feeling about all of these kinds of things? And, you know, if you score over 10, you probably are experiencing a perinatal mood disorder. But when the navigators and the community health workers sit down and listen, most of those feelings stem from the lack of support. They don't have family and friends who are showing up for them. They don't have anyone to lean on. They feel very isolated. They become overwhelmed with their responsibilities and sometimes just shut down in response or turn to substances or other unhealthy coping mechanisms. I'm guessing most of us have some sort of like account on social media, and even though my kids are 11 and 13, I saw a video recently that was a mom, you know, like playing both roles of the new mom and the experienced friend, and she asked her friend with the new baby, like, what's the hardest time of the day for you? And she was like, well, between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. And she was like, okay, I'll be there tonight at 11 so that you can rest, and I will hold the baby. And like that just brought tears to my eyes, because we need people that show up for us like that. Not that we can do that in our professional roles, but additionally, sometimes we have folks that reach out and want to engage who may or may not be the typical patient that we think of. For example, we have an Amish family that has good support but wanted additional education and resources. So they participated in a local pregnancy resource center and library program. And to kind of bring it all together, like most of the things that these folks are dealing with is that sense of isolation, not having somebody in their corner, and that is negatively impacting their mental health, their ability to feel like they're caring well for their baby. And so you guys are the people that can help bridge some of those gaps, help them figure out their support system. You know, maybe they've never really sat down and thought through who they have in their corner. So yeah, I'm excited to hear from the other speakers and see how Young Mothers of America and our other folks can help us continue to build community and make the Fort Wayne area a better place for our moms to be growing families. So, thank you.
You know, the femur network is one that it's really it's a tough job, and you guys do so well and to help us learn the positive side of those tragedies. I next have the privilege, and I'm going to read a little more about her, because you've lived more in your life than most people do, than certainly I have in quite a while. So Tasha Nicole Davis, she is the founder and CEO of Young Mothers of America. She started her journey to strive to make a difference in young mothers' lives in 2006. After the birth of her first son, Calvin, at the early age of 12, she had to make a huge choice to keep fighting and to be successful, or to give up and drop out of the race called life. With much support and encouragement from her family, Tasha pushed forward. She graduated top of her class from Canton City Schools Digital Academy and even gave the graduation speech in 2008. In January 2012, I'm going to jump around and tell you a little more of what she's done. She's enlisted into the U.S. Army as a reservist and was stationed in Cadiz, Ohio. Later on in 2013, she welcomed Quinn Boyce, Dallas, and Terrence into the world. She attended Woodbridge Everest University until 2015 and graduated with a 3.0 in medical assisting and administration. And then in 2015, Tasha worked as a memory care director and for several years worked in assisted living and memory care. And then eventually decided to take a leave of absence from that kind of work to launch Young Mothers of America. This is her dream of what she founded full time. Tasha has a strong faith-based support system from her husband, Terrell Davis. She endured a trying battle of trying to convince their fifth son, Kingston, after she was that she should have another son, and went through that, and that child was diagnosed with PCOS.
No, I have PCOS.
You have PCOS, okay, in 2019, but that didn't stop her, and so she then welcomed their sixth child, a baby girl, Jamaica, into the world with a warm home birth. Terrell and Tasha belong to a Tree of Life Missionary Baptist Church, and as your Young Mothers of America leader, she believes, and you'll hear this I'm sure from her, if mama is happy and healing, you pour that into their children, and it's all a better world. She does her best to make sure all mamas are set up for success in realistic, achievable goals. I'm going to let you tell the story of Young Mothers of America and take it over from here. So thank you, Tasha, for all you do.
All right, good almost afternoon. I am Tasha Nicole Davis. I'm the founder and CEO of Young Mothers of America, and I am a statistic. So I say that to encourage you to meet all of your patients, your clients, and your members where they are with unconditional support so that they can one day stand in front of you as I am now. I'm supposed to have a clicker, Jesus. Okay. Help.
Yeah. You can't read it.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't ever do speeches without participation because you guys can't stand up here and look at me and make me nervous. I have to do the same with you. So I need 5 volunteers. See how this works?
Yeah. You've got a volunteer back there. Perfect.
I need 3 more. And I promise your job is not going to be as hard as mine. And wonderful. So, these are the rules to the game. This is the game of life. You need this water to live. You can share, you can give, but remember, you'll need this water to live. So I'm going to have each of you pour yourself some water. I would pour it, but I don't listen. And once I walk past you, I will ask for you to pour some water back into my cup. I also have to remember who I gave a cup to. So there's that. Told you my job is harder. You'll also observe on your cup that you need this water to live. So as long as everyone remembers that you can share and you can give, but you will need this water to live, you will be able to play the game. or as little as you like. This is the hard part. And I think I hit everybody with a cup, correct? Perfect. All right. So this is Young Mothers of America. We are a local nonprofit resource, support, and referral center for at-risk, underserved, and low or no income mothers, fathers, and children. What is support? We all want to offer support, but the biggest thing is, what does it mean to the individual who needs it? Not support for yourself or what support would be to your family, but what does it mean to who we are offering the support? So for Young Mothers of America, it is providing each individual with regular guidance and encouragement while actively holding them accountable to reach the goals they feel are impactful to their own life. So not the goals that we want them to achieve, but the goals that they have listed for themselves. If you could, give me some water. Thank you. Thank you. So everybody has their own perception of what support looks like. And sometimes that is a fundamental from your family. Sometimes that is because you lacked support in your life. And so now you've created your own version of what that looks like. Sometimes that is projected by other people who are around you. And then we also have the members that we serve who are not really sure what support looks like because they either have not had it or they've been neglected. And so support is kind of a mystery. It's difficult to find out what that means. So how we serve. At Young Mothers of America, our support starts at the foundation. We serve with the backwards model of, if mom is happy, healthy, and healing, she will then in turn pour that into her children. So let's step into a member's life and quickly understand them. One of the biggest things that we have noticed, members or clients or people whom we all in this room serve struggle to keep commitments. They struggle to come to appointments. They struggle to show up for themselves. And we as a support system constantly are like, if you would just show up, we could help you. So we had a team meeting at Young Mothers of America where one of our moms said, I don't understand why they don't just come. And that led me down a rabbit hole of trying to understand why they don't just come. So this poem is something that I wrote, and if there are educators in the room, it is kind of a rendition from the pencil. And so this is called Too Much and No Plate, and I will read it as a statistic. I ain't been to sleep all night because this baby is crying and woke. I dug out clothes that were way too small for my baby because child support just shows up when it wants to. I went to brush my teeth and wash my face, but the water just got shut off. I told them I could have the money by Friday, but he wasn't trying to hear all that. I got the baby dressed and ready for daycare. It took extra time because my mind is just in a fog. Get in the car and it don't start. I gotta use my last bus pass, even though I'm gonna have to get to work the rest of the week. Got us to daycare and to work. Waited, I wanted to get some breakfast, but I need to sell my food stamps in order to cut the water back on. Soon as I got on the floor, a text talking about I'm supposed to get an appointment. I forgot all about that appointment. I just can't even respond. I have too much on my mind. I just got fired today because I was pointed out and I was late. I need some water. So So when we put ourselves in the mind of our clients, of our patients, and our members, and we see what kind of day they just experienced, understanding that a text reminder, an email, a call is likely not impacting them, especially with all that they've done throughout that entire day. So we look at this and we say, oh my gosh, we're in a team meeting and we can't understand why this girl won't show up and get her act together. She likely cannot. She likely has used everything within her just to go through that day to get home to a house that isn't really a home. So we provide knowledge and resources. At Young Mothers of America, we offer 72 different classes, courses, and workshops to help members grow and succeed. From free bump, newborn, and glam photos, to money, credit, and banking management, to healing circles, the Hood Kitchen, we provide interactive, healing, and fundamental support for everyone. Why so many programs? I get this all the time. Why do you do so much? We do so much because we can't fit our members into a box. We cannot categorize them, and support looks like what they perceive is supportive. So I can't tell them, well, you have to take money management, because that may not be what their issue is. That may not be their barrier. So their barrier may be pouring into themselves, encouraging themselves, having self-confidence and self-esteem, in which case they can take professional pictures with us totally free. So support is what a person deems is support. I'm wondering how many of you know what we're doing through this game. How many of you understand the concept of the water and the support? Set foundations and offer support. If you have never seen Healthy, how can you expect to reflect its benefits? Healthy is taught and it's developed. Sometimes all we need is someone who is like us. Have you ever talked to a single child who is about to gain a sibling? I have 6 children, and they are spaced pretty good apart, simply because I have PCOS. And one of the biggest things that my eldest son, who I had when I was a preteen, says to me is, Mom, I loved when I was a single child. And I laugh at him always. And then he says things now, as an 18-year-old, which I can't even believe, like, this is my mom, to all of his other siblings. So the response is usually hesitant. The struggle with what a change in identity means and what sharing themselves and their needs with someone else will bring. This is profound in the majority of single children who go to a multiple child home. This is the same mental process that a mother encounters each pregnancy and birth of her child, taking a little piece of herself and giving it to her children, and then having little left for herself and her own self-identity. We offer support to the grieving process for what the loss of one's individual identity is, and that's important and it's impactful. Providing a safe space to do so is an opportunity to empower the foundation of that mama to breathe life in her ability to keep a piece of herself through motherhood. So the power of keeping yourself through the birth of children, through the stress of raising children, is also a huge part of support. We live in a society where so many people say, when you have a child, you must give all of you to that child. And if you don't, that makes you a really, really crappy mom. And if you don't, that means that you're selfish. We provide support the life of the mother. The members we serve are so accustomed to being abandoned, from family to jobs and even educators. The majority of the members we serve have at one point in their life found themselves feeling alone or isolated. We protect our members' confidence in our ability to serve and support them with ongoing programs that have no limit to access, number of times a course can be taken, and no cap on years a member can be served. We find that more than 62% of the at-risk population, even after reaching their level of success, will at one time or another return to being at risk or dabble in some sort of at-risk behavior. So we are there when they return, and we support them through that. We can build strong relationships and a supportive community. With constant interaction, repetition, and accountability, we positively impact each member. Our unique approach is to serve all mothers and fathers where they are and not where we know they can be. 59% of our members are active with daily YMOA Inc. communication. So we touch our members every 7 days, and we hold them accountable to what their level of success is, because typically if you choose what your level of success is, then you will complete it. Taking action together can be a powerful way to build a village and make a difference. So we serve Mama, and when her core needs are covered, she is free to pour into her children. We refer out for the following things. We do believe that a village means a community. And so while we feel that we do a lot, there is also a lot that we don't do. And we work with the community and partnerships inside of the community in order to make sure those needs are met for our members. So those are large furniture needs, large baby items and supplies, diapers and wipes, bill and utility assistance, hotel vouchers, ESL or English as a second language classes, long-term therapeutic services, substance abuse, homelessness, chronic illnesses, parole and prison-related issues, pregnancy testing and ultrasound, and STD and STI testing. Those are all things that in-house we don't cover, but we have community partners, or we hope to have community partnerships in order to have a place for these members that need those kinds of assistance to go. You guys are getting awfully stingy on the water cooler. You guys saw me take her cup and were like, oh, I will pour lightly. I like that. The inside scoop. So Young Mothers of America stands on the foundation that if you can see yourself in me, then you can see your way out of what looks impossible. Our core 6-week programming, mixed with our ongoing electives, helps provide guidance to teach our members how to fill up their own cups in order to pour more into others. So our 6-week core programming, thank you. Our 6-week core programming is non-negotiable. They have to go through the 6-week core programming because that is really how we learn them. We always say in the intake process, we can't walk alongside you to get to know you and your barriers, but we can see you on a regular basis in order for us to learn those things that nobody else knows. We offer 4 to 7 weekly in-person or virtual classes, and we touch our members every 7 days. What steps are you taking in your own life to make sure that you are not pouring from an empty cup? These are the majority of our core elective courses. So we do prenatal and postpartum support. We have a program called 40 After 40. That program runs for 40 weeks after a person has their 6-week depression checkup. So we find that we support them the same way that a prenatal office would, just 40 weeks after baby. And that can be done in their home, that can be done in the community, or in our office. We have housing assistance, we have abuse and homelessness assistance and referrals, we do food assistance, community referrals, money management, also credit health, co-parenting classes, because we find if mom and dad aren't healthy together, then the home is not healthy together. Child care assistance, job placement, support circles, one-on-one life coaching, homemaker and life skill education, self-love and enrichment through yoga, dance, and active movement programs, self-care enrichment, fatherhood programming, transportation, only to classes. They have to get themselves to the initial 6 weeks, and we do that by design. If you want to get somewhere, you will get there. If you don't, you won't. Spiritual guidance and professional photos that are done for free. And then so much more. I just didn't have space for our 72 classes. You might as well just. Did you get supplemented? Okay. She doesn't the question. You might as well just help me out. I saw you looking. So these are some of the unique courses that we offer at Young Mothers of America. We have a mail system. It is called the YMOA Inc. Mail Hub. This is for members who come to us that are homeless and they are in a bind as far as being able to get their mail. If you go to the post office, there is an issue as far as they need an ID or they have to pay for a post office box. There's just so much red tape. So we alleviate that by housing their mail in our mail hub, and they can pick it up once a week, every other day, whatever the case may be. We just request that they don't call us. We will call them if they have mail to pick up. We also have the 40 After 40 that I already mentioned. We have the fatherhood programming, which is a bi-weekly programming for the men, and that is done actively. So they are moving, they are grooving, they are doing things that don't look like sitting in classroom. We also offer community service hours for mothers who are further along in pregnancy. One of the biggest complaints that we heard in our polls were that moms who were like 20 weeks and above were trying to pick up trash or trying to paint or clean. And so we wanted to offer them a supportive experience where they could complete their court-ordered community service hours without risk to themselves or their babies. We also do the free maternity and bump series. So we did a poll in Young Mothers of America, which we do frequently, to ask them about what things would help support their individual goals. And, oh, sorry. And one of the things that I put out in this poll about maybe 8 months ago was, if money was not an object, if there was no issue with finance or anything, what is something that you wish that you had? And so when this came back, in my brain, I said, oh my gosh, they're gonna ask for a Ferrari. And it was almost unanimous that they actually wanted memories, photos, things that were keepsakes that they could just continue to have because it was either misplaced because of moving or being transit. It was lost because a boyfriend kicked them out. So they wanted memories, and that is what we offer through our photos. So I have 2 people who are on life support because they poured to an empty cup. I have 3 people who barely have anything left. The point of this exercise is to show you all, no one said no. I said, you need this water to live. You need this water to live. It is so easy for us to get in the habit of giving. And not one of our lovely volunteers said to me, you know what, I'm actually running low on my own water. I need this to live. It's written on the cup. And so we get into the habit as mothers, as humans, that the nature is, I just want to give of myself. And we don't think to reserve. We had one person, kudos to you, who said, I can supplement you, I can help you. That's support. But our volunteer didn't say, could you please? I'm running low. So it is just to show that our human nature is to give of ourselves without pouring back in. Thank you.
Do we have any quick questions for you? And I'm going to just, how many members do you currently have, women who are in your network?
So we service over now 211 women per month. Well, I should say members. So women, men, and children.
Tell me about how big is your team? How big is your staff? You must pay the most elaborate salaries in the community.
That's hilarious. So we are a staff of 22, and we are open 24/7. And our brick and mortar buildings, which we have 5 locations, 3 are offices and 2 are hubs. They run Monday through Friday, and no one on our team receives pay. We are all a volunteer staff, and they must just really love me or something. I don't know, but they don't get anything.
Just a little more to understand about this network of passionate people who care. I don't know if there's any other quick questions, or you can probably snag her at the end too.
I will also say that Miss Ann is my boss, and so I love and appreciate her for allowing me to always go off and be the troublemaker that I am. So I appreciate you for that.
Are your locations here in Fort Wayne?
Yes. So all of our brick and mortar locations are in Fort Wayne, Allen County areas, and that is where we serve in person. We also offer virtual classes and courses and some workshops that serve surrounding areas. We serve members from as far as California and New York to Canton, Ohio, where I'm originally from.
I'm going to, go ahead.
As far as language barriers, does your staff have some that speak different languages?
Yes, so we are fortunate to have someone who speaks Mandarin and someone who speaks Spanish. And then for any other languages, we just have me go stand on corners and find people who speak that.
Can you give an example, since you've already brought up Miss Ann Kale, with the Women's Care Center? How does Young Mothers of America work with, like, when are you referring somebody, when would Women's Care Center refer them to you, when would you refer back? So, because there's a lot of great resources in here, it's that referral. How does that work?
So typically what happens is we have a member who will come in and they could either be a long-standing member or they're a new member who's coming in and they say, oh my gosh, I think I could be pregnant and this is really just gonna this is crazy. I can't experience this. And so that's our red flag or our antenna that there may be a barrier there. First of all, we don't test for pregnancy. So we are blessed and fortunate enough to be located across the street from Women's Care Center, to which we say, if you go to that pink building right over there, they will give you a pregnancy test, they will give you your first ultrasound, they will do all these wonderful things to figure out where you are in this barrier that you're expressing. And so that's really how we bridge over to Women's Care Center, and then Women's Care Center bridges back over to us when we notice that that mom has a lot of extra barriers that are going to be long-term needs. The majority of our women who are referred back need that support for years. And so that's kind of where we are. We're the long-term and accountability support.
Anna, do you want to add anything to that about how you work alongside the two organizations?
Well, we're very blessed to have Tasha, as you can all see. She's a staff counselor for me. You know, it's kind of just a natural progression. We'll meet a woman that doesn't know either one of us yet and do her test, do her ultrasound. We're also happy to walk with her in care until the children are 4 or 5, as far as material assistance, birth preparation, things like that. But we ascertain the need when we do our intake, and it's just a great resource for someone that we know is going to need just some loving but substantial care, ongoing. We've got a lot of programs and we're happy to have them in all of our programs, but we don't necessarily have 24/7 someone answering the phone live. So it's just been a great partnership.
Because your goal is to get people connected to all of the other resources in the room. And so when anybody in the room, if you come across somebody who needs this other, it's not meant to compete, it's meant to complement.
Yes. Yes.
To fill in. So some of the stories that Cori shared at the beginning, this is supporting coming along. So hopefully that explains that a little bit. You have her email on there. They can find you, Young Mothers, your YMOA on the internet. You can Google that very quickly and find the organization.
Yes.
One last question. How do most of the people find you?
Because we are in the community, that is really how we get a lot of our referrals. So we do a plethora of vending events where we're in the community where they are. But we also are a referral source. So we constantly keep relationships open and partnerships so that when we have a member who has been with us or is new to us, is coming on, we have an avenue to say like, hey, me again, we need your help. So just to complement what Meg said, we definitely are a referral source and we want to help them as much as we can in the community because that's where they are.
Thank you so much. So we have so much more good stuff to share. So the next I want to introduce Bonnie Doolittle. She's also a founder and the executive director of New Mercies. And Bonnie has held many leadership positions in her career before she came to doing the work at New Mercies Ministries. In her former role, she was a nonprofit ministry leader, and she has a long career in information technology and accounting, and she completed her undergraduate work in business at Western Michigan University. She and her husband Scott attend and are actively involved in Headwaters Church, been there since 1995. They live in Fort Wayne, have 2 married children and 7 grandchildren. And what motivates her, I'd like you just to hear this quick kind of a statement by her. She said, I formed New Mercies Ministries to continue my calling to serve parents who are struggling, especially single moms. It is my passion to keep children safe while walking alongside isolated parents during their time of need. God has given me the heart to connect vulnerable parents to the resources and relationships that they need so that they can continue to be loving and supportive parents. So with that, I give you Bonnie.
There we go. There's me. Hi, everyone. I'm, like she said, Bonnie Doolittle. I don't need to intro myself. She did a great job doing that. Thank you. I think I probably wrote that right. So I am here in front of you today. Wow, this is great. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for Steve Francis hosting this. We've been a kind of somewhat long-term partner of St. Joe Community Health Foundation, and they have really actually launched us into continuing to build capacity to serve specifically our family coaches. They've really built into us there financially so that we can continue to build and supervise and oversee that team. My teammate over here at Mindy Thear, just raise your hand. She oversees our family coaches, which I'll talk about in a minute. So that she's here. So please snag her and ask her questions as well. So just really quickly, I won't go into a lot of functional details, but here's our mission statement, but I want to focus a little on our core values. We strongly, when we sat down and formed this organization, a bunch of us together collaboratively, we were already doing this for 8 years when we formed this ministry here locally. This is what we decided. We're already doing this, so we wanted to put it down as our core values. So we believe in relationships. Everything that we do is based on relationship, whether it's a relationship with a foundation or a relationship with a parent, relationships with our collaborative partners, our volunteers. We're volunteer driven. We have over 200 volunteers. That's a lot to manage, but it's all around relationship. We seek to be non-judgmental and, like Tasha said, seeking to understand their needs, not telling them what they need to do, these parents, but listening to them and finding out more about what it is that they want to accomplish. Whoops. Christ-like service. We are a ministry here in Fort Wayne. We work through local churches to recruit our volunteers. And we strongly believe our calling is to love our neighbors as Christ loved us. So that's our motivation. Trustworthy stewardship. I'm an auditor by trade, and so I am grounded in best practices. So if it doesn't make sense, we're not going to keep doing it. And we do a lot of research to find out what those best practices are, and we incorporate that into everything that we do. We instill that in our team and our family coaches, our volunteers, all of that. Everything is variable documented. And then dignity and care, and this is very important to me. I was raised by a single mom whose hair was always on fire. I was abused, neglected, all the things. We don't need to go into my story. But what I saw was my mom not being, just not handled with dignity. And my goal is to empower and do with these parents, not compelling and doing for the parents. We want to walk alongside them and be co-parents with them during this time of crisis. So that's who we are. Going backwards. So there's a need out there, just like Tasha said, I love it. I can't wait to grab coffee with you. The need out there is the average person goes through 2 crises a year, and we're probably in here average, right? 2 crises a year. So you imagine if you're living below the poverty level, if you're living in situations that constantly find you, and if you have 2 crises a year and you're dealing with all these extra things, and throw on top of it you're a single parent, which is about 99% of who we serve, and you have 2 crises a year, that's going to be overwhelming. So these are just a bullet point list of the need out there. 60% of who we serve is facing some sort of housing instability, homelessness, medical. We serve quite a few moms who are having babies, subsequent babies, and what do you do with the kids when you need to go to the hospital and you don't have a support system? Parkview and Lutheran will call DCS. They can't just keep your other kids there with you. They will call DCS. We're here for a lot of that. Mental health issues, finding that job after getting fired for the 7th time, domestic violence, drug and rehab. These are just the top things, but what we try to do is say yes to any crisis that we feel we can handle walking alongside, because we can't get a relationship with them if we say no. So the response to that is to provide a network of host homes. So we have 60 host homes in the area where the child can be while mom and her family coach that gets assigned to her to walk along whatever this crisis is. It could be an overnight, it could be a year. The law that governs us allows us to host this child for a year without a DCS involvement. So we take the child out of the crisis and put them with the host home. Mom is still mom. We co-parent with her. She's still in charge, even down to, can we give them a haircut that has to have permission from mom? So it's temporary. It gives them a temporary space to just get a breather, get their cup of water, get their cup refilled, as well as we walk alongside and help them get those resources, teach them that. So we live in the family preservation lane. So we believe God has given this child this miracle of birth to them, and we want to help them be able to preserve their family. So we're in the family preservation lane. But our objectives are to prayerfully prevent child abuse and neglect. Often neglect mostly happens when a parent's hair is on fire, like my mother. That will happen when something's going on and you have to make decisions that you wouldn't normally make for your child, for the care of your child. You didn't intend for it to happen, but it happens because you're socially isolated. You have no support. Maybe that's your fault of your own, or maybe no fault of your own, but you have somehow don't have that support. So neglect, that's often what happens with the moms that we serve. We're trying to keep kids out of foster care. Many kids are in foster care, not unnecessarily. They don't need to. There are parents that don't need to be parenting, and we're not afraid to call that out. But there are so many, if they just had loving support of a neighbor, a friend, someone to look aside, an advocate, a coach, call it whatever you want. If they had that, their child would not enter the child welfare system. So we walk right on that line with the mom, and often with DCS, to keep kids out of foster care. And then we just want to support and stabilize families. The more, think about, close your eyes for a second. When you have your 2 crises this year, who did you call? You probably flipped open your phone and could just pick 5 people right off the top of your head. The moms that we serve do not have that. They're lucky if their phone even works and they can call someone to help. So we want to be that, and we become extended family-like support. So the overview, I mentioned we have over 200 volunteers in 10 counties, primarily here in Allen County because this is where we launched. We are staff supported. We have 8 staff, and each of those staff members is responsible for their section of that volunteer base. So everybody, it's a solid, smooth practice. Everybody knows who they go to get support as a volunteer. And I won't go into that. In your brochure here lists a lot of those types of things. And just stop for a minute here. This is what you would give a parent if they needed support. And in the back we have it in Spanish as well. So, and then voluntary. This is not court appointed. This is not a governmental program. This is loving your neighbor. So this is voluntary. So when the parent says it's over, it's over. When the parent is, they can stay as long as the parent is in the crisis and being held accountable to do the things that she wants to do or the parent wants to do. But if they remain the full custodial parent, we do not take custody. We have a legal agreement, but we do not take custody. so the child will return. Our goal is to return the child to the parent at the end. Referral sources, these are our top referral sources. The list changes every day. When they do things like this, it can change tomorrow, right? But the schools, we work very closely with the schools, other organizations like STAND, First Steps, Healthier Moms and Babies. I heard a lot of names out here, Lutheran Social Services, Lowen Center, Park Center, PBH, the hospitals, Parkview Hospital. At one point, every child that was being born had one of these in their welcome home packet. Hopefully that's still happening. We print so many of them for them. All the shelters are aware of us. Residential places are aware of us, and many churches are top referrers to us. As well, like Meg said earlier, we also refer to them. So these family coaches are volunteers as well that are walking alongside the parent. There's 15-ish of those people doing that. But they're not solving all the world's problems for this parent. They're walking alongside them and connecting them to the resources in the community that we have spent 11 years establishing. So we have over 240 connections in the community, and we spend time connecting them. That's actually Mindy's job, is making sure the coach knows what to do. And so she does a lot of this kind of stuff, just awareness and figuring out who is out there who can help a parent. So the details about us, our average length of stay is about 3 weeks, but it can be anywhere from 1 day to 12 months, and we also have a day hosting program as well. Maybe they don't need to have care overnight, maybe they need 4 weeks of day hosting until their child care voucher comes through or whatever. So we even are getting creative because our goal is to get a relationship with them, help them, serve them, and to be extended like family. We take babies home from the hospital. We've done that a few times. And we also will even take pregnant moms up to the age of 20 if we have availability in a host home. Or if we have a teen mom who already has a baby, taking them in together. We have host homes that want to do that together. Our goal is reunification, and our rate of reuniting with a parent is 99%. So we usually don't get involved if we don't see reunification as a possibility. So I'm a numbers person. You heard the accounting. I love numbers. In 11 years, we have served in over 1,500 hostings, an arrangement it starts and finishes. That's an arrangement. So whether it's overnight or day. We've served, this number is probably more towards like 530 now, kids in the 10-county area. Again, probably 80% of that is here in Allen County. We have 60 host families, 202 volunteers. We're really, in the next 3 years, really focused on 5 specific counties, but we have volunteers in 10 counties. So we're going to really drill down into Allen and 4 other counties over the next 3 years to really try to just really stabilize in those extra 4. We're stable in Allen County. We want to stable in those other 4 before we start focusing on the other 5. We are on all the social media, so you can find us. And here's some contact information. I believe that the beauty is in the question and answer, so I'd like to just pause now, and if there's any time left, just to answer your questions. Crickets, come on, you asked Tasha.
I have a couple questions to get this going on.
Okay.
So how do most of the people find you?
So those connections in the community, all the list of people that you saw are referring partners. We do events like this all the time, get up and speak, get out information. We do resource fairs. We show up at resource fairs. We give information to our referring sources so they have it in their lobbies, they have it in their meeting rooms where they're meeting with parents. That's the best way to get the word out. But we have been around for so long now that we even have self-referring because my friend used you guys last week and I think it's great, and I have this similar situation, so even word of mouth.
I'm going to ask by just show of hands if your agency has ever referred anyone to this. So, yeah.
My heart.
So, and if anyone wants to give a quick testimony, I can give one. We have a member
a member of our team, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, actually came across a young person who was 20 years old and was basically, she was not 20 at the time, she was probably 18 and really had no place to live or support.
Trying to finish high school, I think, yeah.
Yes. This was a program, it was amazing for her. I think she was with a family for a couple of months. You know, it's made a difference. Her life is all positive going forward to meeting this young woman. So,
I remember the story well.
yeah. So it's easy to get a hold of you guys and to kind of work that through. If they know groups who want to help or get involved with hosting, or they happen to be involved in church or something, how do they refer potential host families or volunteers or people who just want to do a meal or have extra supplies? Do you ever need supplies or something like that for these families?
We need all of that. Thank you for, we have 5 resource rooms around the 10-county area. Is that right? Maybe it's 3. 3 with working on 2 more. Where we have diapers, wipes, all the baby gear. The host families get supported with all of this stuff. Every single item in those resource rooms are donated. So if you want to donate tangible things, that would be the thing that you would do. We also have, I really firmly believe that anyone, and I mean anyone, and I will challenge you if you say no, that anyone could volunteer in this ministry, and I will find a way. And so that's been my goal, especially in the last 7 years, to really just plug anyone in with their gift and talent. The Lord has given all of us gifts and talents, right? And we could implore, just like the water thing, you can do something. Get out there and do something. So in our brochure in the back, not this one, this is more community outreach later related, but in the back is our volunteer brochure. If you're interested in volunteering, or if you, like I said, want to get your church involved, you do not have to attend a partner church to get involved. You do need to be plugged into a church for certain roles, not everything. You don't even have to go to church for some of the roles. So there is something for everyone, but there is a brochure in the back around the recruiting. Not everything is listed there, because again, just let's have a conversation. What are you good at? Because that's our goal, is to employ your gift and talent into the ministry. So host family, family coach, support volunteers. We need people to drive kids around. Those day hosting, that could be just, I want to babysit during the day. Meals, we have 5 freezers, and people make meals, and every host family gets a meal at the beginning of their hosting and throughout as needed. Phone, oh yes, please. So we have all of our people that answer the phone are volunteers. So they answer the phone, they talk to the parent, gather all the information. That's a big thing. Thank you, Mindy, for the little phone thing. So many ways to plug in, and we need all of it. We have mentors, we have family coaches, all of the ways. So
we know there's a housing issue is a big issue, so this is really an important intersection.
Affordable housing. The affordable housing crisis in our community is big, and the people that we serve, it is affecting them greatly, and the number of places that they can afford is reduced all the time. And I know that you hear in the media that that's being addressed, but we're not seeing it. And when I talk to a mom, our team would talk to a mom who's paying $900,000 a month for rent. She's working 2 jobs to pay that. Where does she get the money for the utilities, all the things? It is just insane, and it's even getting worse. So we are launching something to address that. We hope to have a place for phase 2 as well in the future.
Thank you. Oh, we have a question back there?
Yeah.
Most of my patients that I serve are from the surrounding counties. What are your 5 main counties?
Yeah, so we have volunteers in 10 counties. The 5 that we're focused on, primarily Allen County, DeKalb, Noble, Elkhart, help me out, Kosciuszko, Huntington, we're getting going in Huntington, and there's one more, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. But yeah, 10 county reach. So anything that touches Allen, we're working on, but we're deeply focused on those 4 that surround Allen. And that's really just because there's interest. That's where we're going, where the interest is.
Bonnie, thank you.
She
Oh,
had a question
one
right
more,
here.
and then we gotta keep it to our last speaker.
Real quick, mine was around housing. Do you offer support in housing where parents can stay with the child and have support?
Only on their basis. Only on very limited basis. But what we do right away is get the child safe and then start plugging into mom to figure out where she could go and then hope to reunite them quickly. We're working on something for that, but right now we're just connecting out in the community. We stay close to her on that, especially when there's homelessness.
Thank you so much. I'm going to move really quickly because our last speaker has so much important information for you. Julie Foster is the division manager of the Allen County Department of Child Services. We've heard, come on up, Julie. We have heard a lot of people talking about DCS. We know it's a real concern with a lot of the families. Our goal is to have Julie help demystify a little bit and to put a friendly face on front of DCS. Julie has been with DCS since actually 2008. I'm trying to
Yes.
and has really been in almost every role there in several counties. So I'm not going to spend any more time introducing because I want them to hear a little more about you.
Okay, well, thank you for having me today. So I'm sure everyone knows DCS. Sometimes people call us CPS. So the Department of Child Services, we are called out to homes when there are safety concerns for children that surround abuse and neglect. So when we get that report from our intake, our hotline, we go out and we engage a family to learn more about them and see what's going on and try to get a holistic view of their home, the children, what their needs are. If they're not able to identify specifically what their needs are, and we may be making certain observations in the home, we will try to assist that family prior to any intervention efforts that would take formal involvement with the court. So we realize when we knock on the door, it's traumatic for a family, whether it's a half-hour home visit or we're coming back weekly for check-ins. That is additional stress on families that are already struggling. So we want to be very careful when we are engaging with families and utilizing our community supports that we have, which we have robust services in our community. There are other communities that surround us that are not as fortunate as we are. So that is one thing that Allen County does very well, and that is the community supports that we offer to our families. So when we use those preventative services, we are a touch point. We're guiding them in the right direction. We are saying that there are not imminent safety concerns for these children that rise to the level that DCS needs to become involved. That we feel like we can mitigate these safety concerns and keep these children in their home with their current caregivers without that formal involvement. So we work with the community partners to engage parents, and it's all voluntary. So they have to be willing to accept those services. We are met with resistance because we have a stigma about us. People know the worst case scenario is we are going to remove children from their homes. Sometimes people think that's all we do. That isn't what we do. That's the last thing that we want to do. We do everything we can to avoid the need to remove a child from the home. So when we're met with that resistance, it's really difficult for us to make headway with families. So what I would implore you all to do as touch points for us is when that scary name, agency, gets brought up, DCS, you have your clients trust us and work with us. When they can be honest about their situation, honest about their struggles, that helps us. That helps us plan with the families. That helps us identify real needs and what we can do that is going to work for that particular family. When we don't know all the specifics and we're just trying to troubleshoot or throw something out there to see if it's going to stick, it takes us a lot longer to get where we need to be, and the chances of us needing to intervene, whether that is keeping the kids in the home and providing family services, if we can't do that safely, looking at removal, it just makes our job difficult. So the more they can be honest with us, tell us where they're at now, tell us where they've been at. Their family story is really important for us to understand. We see in our community and surrounding communities that sometimes what families are dealing with, it's generational, and they don't know any different. And so if we're just going into a home and we don't have that historical information that this mom is functioning this way, she's functioning in crisis every day because that's what she experienced as a child. If she has her guard up and isn't able to give us that information, it makes it a lot different. It takes us a lot more time, and it's difficult for us to get to the bottom of it. Where if we have that social history from mom from the beginning, we can get services in there right away through community partners. So when we've determined that we're not able to use community partners, that we need the coercive intervention of the court, the next thing we look at is, can we keep these kiddos safely at home with their current caregiver? If we can't, why not? And how can we overcome that barrier? Are there things that we can do and put in the home to mitigate those safety concerns? And we try to do that. And one thing that is recognized, and we're kind of on the forefront of this within Indiana Child Welfare's agency, and that's with our family preservation services. So family preservation started, the idea, the concept started growing in 2018. And by June of 2020, Indiana was ready to launch our family preservation services. And what family preservation is agencies that are contracted with the Department of Child Services to come into a home and offer case management, therapeutic services. We refer to one provider. Some of you that have worked alongside of our agency may have experienced working with a family where there's 4 providers, and you come to a child and family team meeting and nobody's on the same page and nobody knows what's going on. So when we're working with family preservation services, it's one provider. There are certain situations where we have to have a side referral to offer a specific service to a family depending on their needs. But that agency is going to be responsible for the case management touch points. They're going to be responsible for the therapeutic aspects. They are identifying the needs of that family. When we make that referral, they have 7 days to go out and meet with the family and start to work with them and better understand them and get an idea of how their agency can service the family. If you've ever worked with a contracted agency, you know that it's about billable hours. With family preservation, it's not about billable hours. It's about meeting the family where they're at and servicing them and keeping those children in the home. So we don't pay the contractor by billable hours. They're paid a daily rate. So they're tasked with meeting the needs of the family. So if it takes them 10 hours a week to get the job done, we pay them each day. If it takes them 2 hours the next week, they still get paid each day. It's a daily per diem. So we take that out. So their focus is the family. They know that their focus, they are in there to try to preserve that family underneath that roof, whatever it takes. Along with their daily per diem, they have to use concrete services. So if there is a need within the home, if their rent is overdue, if their electric bill is not paid, their water's getting shut off, that agency is responsible to pay for that concrete service, because when they pay for that, that is going to allow, that is a safety issue that is going to jeopardize the children remaining in the home. It jeopardizes their stability with housing. If there is, let's say, infestation and we need to get the exterminator out there and the kiddos can't stay there. Let's say that they have bite marks all over and then they got infection because they were scratching, and like just lots of things can happen that provide for an unsafe, unsanitary environment. So a concrete service would be for that agency to pay for that exterminator to come out and remedy that problem, which then would alleviate the need for those children to come out of the home. So that's kind of a very broad view of our family preservation services. But since 2020, we have utilized family preservation services, and we have been striving for better outcomes for those families, and we have seen that. So there are providers, the agency tracks the provider's success rate with families based on if that family's case closes with those children remaining in the home, or if along the way we were not able to mitigate safety concerns and those kiddos came out of the home. We track each agency's success, and so we highlight those agencies that are working really well with families to keep kiddos safe in the home. We do try everything. It's exhaustive, the list and the things that we do to keep kiddos in the home. Stereotypes are that we come and we take kiddos. That's not what we want to do every day. That is the hardest day that we have. When we have to go to work and that is the outcome. So we try our darndest to keep kiddos in the home. Ultimately, there are days that we cannot do that. Circumstances that we cannot plan around, we cannot put enough safety measures in place, and kiddos have to come out. Sometimes the reason is because the parents can't see what their issues are. And when they can't see what the issues are, it just makes it very complicated to keep them safe in the home. And so we try to build those trust-based relationships with families, but again, it takes a lot for the department to overcome those stereotypes that are already there. I mean, they are founded by society. So we understand that. That's not for the parents that they did on their own. It's just something that is out there, and we know that we have to overcome that. I will let you all know that I mentioned Family Preservation Services. We are a leader within the nation, with Indiana. This has been spotlighted. 2 weeks ago, one of our deputy directors, David Reed, he had the opportunity to speak in front of Congress and explain Family Preservation Services and what that has done for the children in Indiana and the families in Indiana. So we are being looked at. There are good things within our child welfare system. I know that is a topic that kind of gives people goosebumps and rubs them the wrong way because we don't get good media most of the time. So unfortunately, our phone is ringing after the abuse or neglect has taken place. There are not a lot of caregivers that are calling beforehand saying, hey, guess what? This is what I'm going to get ready to do. So we are not preventative. We react when something bad happens. But if that something bad has not happened yet, we know what the preventative resources are in our community, and we guide them to those services prior to any intervention. So that's kind of my spiel.
Thank you. We don't often hear that we're leading in the nation, so really kudos to you to have a great family preservation system. I want to ask, how many people in this room have actually worked maybe on the front end to refer a case early, if I heard, that to trust them, to bring them in with some of the family preservation services, with SCAN, I believe, and to bring in those concrete resources that may come alongside of some of the work that's going on in this room. How many people have done this early? So there's a start with several of them, so you guys can see that it is working. So I guess the key word is trust.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I just would like to just be a testament to that. 11 years ago, we presented our ministry to Allen County DCS, and they literally, I'll just be blunt, rolled their eyes and said, you won't be here. Now, it's probably, I don't know, maybe a couple times a month, we're getting calls from DCS saying, could you help this parent? So we are just getting a relationship. It's working. And I've also heard the highlights of Indiana being a front runner in family preservation. So thankful. We've always wanted to be working side by side and helping them not to fall into the river. And it's happening. It's happening with DCS.
Yes, and we appreciate your efforts because you're absolutely right. If there are certain
families, their circles just aren't as big as others. Like you mentioned, we can open our phone right now and have 5 people ready to go. Not everybody is that fortunate. And so it really, one of the things we try to do is we build those supports. And how can we continue those connections even with DCS involvement? Because we're not always going to be there. And we don't want to be in one day and we are supporting the family, they're being successful, and as soon as we back out, they're back to that same status that they were in prior to DCS involvement. We want to see families successful. We want them to overcome all of their struggles while we're involved, and we don't want to see them go back to that same pattern and style that they were at before our involvement. So one last plug is we do our darndest to keep kids in their families, with their families. If not in the home, safely in the home, we look for relatives and kinship. Ultimately, we do have a need for foster homes. So if you ever do feel compelled, and if you can spread the word, we do need loving, caring foster homes for these kiddos who ultimately end up out of home placement. So I'll put that one last plug in there, because there is a need in our community.
And you guys are doing a lot more kinship.
Absolutely.
Like our host homes are becoming kinship.
Yes.
Which then they're out of our loop, but at least the child is with who they were with to begin with.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And that connection is going to be there even after DCS.
Because they already have a relationship with the mom too.
Yes. Yep. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.